Welcome to TTV News with some latest events in TayNinhTV province. Ladies and gentlemen, on June 21st, the Youth Union, the Youth Federation of Hoa Thanh Thao, cooperated with the Young Entrepreneurs Association of TayNinhTV province to hold a talk show on Journey for Business Startup with many meaningful activities to equip young people with skill and knowledge about startup and settlement.
Union members and youth of the town exchange with guests including Lawyer Nguyễn Thế Tân, Standing Vice Chairman of the Young Entrepreneurs Association, General Director of National Choice Stock Company, Master Lê Minh Nhật, Lecturer of Ho Chi Minh City Law University, Legal Advisor of Lawrence Law Firms Ho Chi Minh City, and Mr. Đặng Khánh Duy, Executive Committee Member of the Young Entrepreneurs Association, General Director of TayNinhTV Company Limited. General Director of TayNinhTV Company Limited. The guests share their own stories and difficulties in starting a business and answer many questions from youth union members, especially about the provision of the law on business, the type of online sales, provincial OCOP program, the necessary and sufficient factors to be ready for the startup process. Through the talk show, the youth union members and youth partly shape the process of starting a business for themselves. As part of the program, the Startup Youth Club of Hoa Thanh Thao was launched with 10 members led by Mr. Đặng Khánh Duy. This is the first startup club led by the owner of a business with the purpose of accompanying and supporting young people in the town to start a business in a convenient way, minimizing risk. On this occasion, the Startup Youth Club of Hoa Thanh Thao also presented 10 gifts to disadvantaged youth in the town.
In the field of agriculture production, policies have been implemented and readily approved by people, promoting efficiency of supporting farmers and businesses in developing productions in a sustainable way and adding value.
In the first 6 months of 2022, the agricultural sector inspected and spent money to support 11 out of 13 projects, dispersing over 2.4 billion Vietnam dong, reaching 80.5% of the total allocated funding. The chains of production and consumption are increasingly interested in building and consolidating. The Provincial People's Committee has approved a support level of over 32 billion Vietnam dong for the project to support the production, milling, and consumption of high-quality rice in the direction of Việt Gap in TayNinhTV province of Lúa Vàng Việt Production and Trade Joint Stock Company. Currently, it has been put into operation with a capacity of 44,000 tons per year, the largest in TayNinhTV province. In addition, it cooperates with farmers to manage and cultivate 5,000 hectares of large sample fields farming techniques according to Việt Gap standards.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the dialogue conference between the chairmen of the Provincial People Committee and the youth of TayNinhTV province in 2022, on June 24, chairman of the Provincial People Committee Nguyễn Thanh Ngọc has frank and open sharing answers the legitimate goal and aspiration of the youth force. He also provides directions for relevant departments, branches to promptly solve and remove difficulties, creating a healthy environment for young people to develop comprehensively.
Taking place in the form of combination of face-to-face and online via social networks, the conference attracted nearly 5,000 young people watching and asking questions. Most of the questions and opinions of young people revolve around the topic, mechanisms and policies for youth and obligations of young people, in which the problem that receives a lot of attention from TayNinhTV youth is that currently TayNinhTV does not have a university, so studying at university and post-university for TayNinhTV youth face many difficulties and takes time, effort, money to move. Though the chairman of the Provincial People's Committee also noted that the education institutions in the province have training programs in the form of association, specifically at TayNinhTV Pedagogical College, TayNinhTV Vocational College, TayNinhTV Center of Continuing Vocational Education. If there is need, youth and people can refer to and choose appropriate branches and training programs. Another issue that has also received a lot of attention from young people in the province is the need to access and participate in digital transformation activities of the province. For this issue, along with informing the youth about the province's major policies and decisions in digital transformation, the chairman of the Provincial People's Committee also emphasized the role of youth and suggested the content that young people can participate in. In addition, the youth also pay attention to the other contents and their opinions were answered satisfactorily by the chairman of the Provincial People's Committee and the leaders of provincial departments and branches. Mr. Nguyễn Thanh Ngọc also emphasized that the provincial leaders will always accompany and react on conditions for the province youth to develop comprehensively. However, they also need to constantly make efforts, try to emulate in learning and training, not betray the trust and expectation of the party committees and local authorities. Youth must really be the core force, the leading force in the construction and defense of the fatherland. According to the assessment of the Provincial People's Committee, the tourism sector of the province has grown rapidly and spectacularly after 6 months of implementing the socio-economic development plan. Its recovery after the COVID-19 pandemic is quite impressive, related to the number of visitors. In the last 6 months, the province's tourist areas welcomed 3.3 million visitors, an increase of over 124% over the same period, an increase of 7.4% compared to the plan. Total tourism revenue in 6 months is 880 billion Vietnam dong, reaching nearly 68% of the plan, up over 54% over the same period. The Provincial People's Committee has promulgated the implementation plan of the General Planning Project to build Baden Mountain National Tourist Area to 2035, Tourism Development Plan of the Province up to 2025, and Orientation to 2030, develop a plan to organize the first festival to promote the art of processing vegetarian dishes in the province in 2022. Activities of tourism communication and promotion are promoted by the culture, sports and tourism sector on social information networks in many forms, preparing plans for the stronger and more sustainable recovery. According to businesses, the boom of the tourism sector is creating a positive spillover effect on related economic sectors such as transport, retail, restaurants, hotels, and creating jobs and income for the people. Dầu tiếng Phước Hòa Irrigation Exploitation One Member Company Limited has reported to the Irrigation Department on reviewing and evaluating the implementation of Decree number 114 of the government on staff management of dam and reservoir. Accordingly, the safe management of dams and reservoirs of Dầu tiếng Phước Hòa Irrigation System still faces many difficulties. The Decree number 114, effective from September 4, 2018, has clearly and fully regulated the contents related to the safe management of dams and reservoirs. After more than 3 years of implementation, basically, Dầu tiếng Phước Hòa Irrigation Exploitation Company has well implemented the provisions of the decree on declaration and registration of safety of dams and reservoirs, operating procedures, monitoring works, inspect and evaluate the current state of the works annually, mark the protection scope of main dams and auxiliary dams, license activities. However, the safety management of dams and reservoirs still faces many difficulties. Dầu tiếng Reservoir has been put into operation and exploitation for more than 35 years, but the funding has not been invested in planting landmarks in the reservoir protection corridor. Many construction items have been damaged and degraded, causing the risk of loss of safety, not ensuring the functionality according to the design due to the impact of rain and flood. Meanwhile, the state investment resources for maintenance, repair, upgrading, and modernization of the management, operation, and exploitation of lakes and dams are still limited and have not met actual needs. It is difficult to set up landmarks to limit the protection scope of dams and irrigation reservoirs with a height of 27 meters, according to Article 21 of Decree 114, because a part of the locality along the lakeside has granted the land use certificate to the organization's individuals. These areas are within the scope of project protection. This is a huge difficulty because as implementing it will have to pay land compensation at a huge cost. The decree also does not have specific regulations on blood drainage corridors between the state management agencies in charge of irrigation and localities, which cause some difficulties in making plans to respond to natural disaster and emergency situations.
Ladies and gentlemen, TayNinh's tourism sector is currently recovering from the pandemic and has undergone rapid change. The number of tourists visiting tourist areas in the province increased rapidly in the first month of this year. Available potential is an advantage. For many content years, TayNinh has searched for many solutions, implemented policies to support businesses and attracted investment in tourism. Breakthrough in infrastructure, especially transport, have brought clear results to TayNinh, especially in the tourism sector. The strong transformations of Badeng Mountain tourist area has created to spillover effects for tourism stimulus in TayNinh.
In the first 5 months of this year, TayNinh welcomed more than 1.2 million visitors to visit and stay, about 10 tons of tourists. Tourist area attracted more than 3 million people. Total revenue of the tourism sector in the first 5 months of the year reached more than 700 billion Vietnam dong. The impressive figures show that the province tourism sector is gradually recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. This result is thanks to effective solutions to prevent and control the COVID-19 epidemic and reasonable tourism stimulus measures in the context of the new normal. With the policy of creating favorable conditions for businesses to invest in developing different types of tourism, not in their own destinations, TayNinh has both invested in new tourist areas and organized a new tourism model to attract tourists. The model of combining tourism and experiential sports is the first product in a series of new and unique products that the tourism sector of TayNinh province is developing. According to the leader of the Department of Culture, Sports and Tourism, this is the test step for the establishment of an aviation sports center in TayNinh province and the development of new entertainment tourism. If in the past, TayNinh was still struggling to find solutions to attract strategic investors to fill up tourism, visitors to TayNinh mainly made pilgrimage to Badeng Mountain to worship, and the number of staying tourists was not significant. Now tourists come to TayNinh for many reasons. After the COVID-19 pandemic, as returning to TayNinh, visitors all share the same comment. TayNinh is different now. Since the construction of cable car system to the top of Badeng Mountain, the number of visitors has increased rapidly. On average, each day welcomes about 6,000 to 7,000 people. On the holidays, the number increased to more than 20,000 people. In addition to Badeng Mountain tourist area, TayNinh also has many attractive destinations, not only the beautiful sceneries imbued with the wild beauty of nature, but also cultural relics such as Cao Đài Holy, special national historical relics of the Southern Central Revolutionary Base, Logo Samat National Park, Bình Thành Ancient Tower, Chóc Mạc Tower are all cultural relics that have existed for more than 1,000 years. Facing the opportunities and challenges of the tourism sector after the COVID-19 epidemic, TayNinh already aims to transform tourism from breadth to depth, develop more tourism products, turn the tourism sector into a spearhead economic sector that the resolution of the Party Congress of TayNinh province has set for, creating driving force for socio-economic development. The flourishing tourism sector not only inspires tourists but also opens up opportunities to develop the types of services in the locality. Every trip is an experience of a homeland, and TayNinh is always an attractive destination and full of love for every visitor.
That's all for today TTV News. Thanks for watching and see you next time.